would be me. I found me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here.
Good to see you.
And it's good to see you too. I don't know. Facebook is tripping today, but guess what? We're very important, so we got to be up here. We fixed it on our end. And I've got questions, and I've got one from you too. That was a little bit of a surprise. So let me ask the first question I was going to ask, and then we'll get to your question, because that's a long one, filled with questions. It's a good one. All right. So starting out, Sally is asking about mast cell disorder, histamines and estrogen. She states, I know our mast cells have estradiol receptors, but what about estriol? Would estriol potentially be better for those of us who suffer with this? A lot of us that do have this mast cell disorder feel worse with estrogen. So I'm just trying to find some sort of happy balance. And is there one?
I do not know the answer to this.
Okay, well, guess what? I don't either. So that means I'm going to do a little bit of research. I don't understand a lot about mast cell disorder myself, but it's something that I do come across quite a bit on the chat. So, all right, well, thank you for your honesty there. Then let me quickly go to this other question before I get to yours. Is I think you pronounce it pregnenolone better to take than progesterone?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And why pregnenolone is out there is for two reasons. When you look at a biochemical roadmap of how steroid hormones, ovarian hormones are actually manufactured within the body, you learn that the basic building block is cholesterol.
Yes.
And then cholesterol is transformed into the first biologically active substance, and that it would be pregnenolone. It's like the great grandmother in the biochemical flowcharts. And then pregnenolone is converted into various things. Progesterone's one of them, one of the possibilities. And this is the way biochemistry works in the body. You start with a basic substance, it gets changed biochemically into the next substance, that gets changed into the next substance. And out of that tree of creation comes estradiol, estriol, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, the metabolites, corticosteroids. But theoretically, instead of giving women hormones, why don't we just feed you cholesterol?
Right.
Just eat a lot of butter and animal fat.
Right. I could do that.
It's too non-specific. It's not going to guarantee that you're going to wind up with replenishing your ovarian hormones. Why not give you pregnenolone? You have a better shot at it, and pregnenolone is available as a nutritional supplement, but there's no controlling it. And we don't know how it's going to behave in any given woman's body. We could learn, we could do a scientific experiment with each woman, give her increasing doses of pregnenolone. Number one, see if it alleviated your symptoms. And number two, test her at a certain point with 24-hour urine hormone testing. No other testing, 24-hour urine hormone testing. We could run that experiment. That work has not been done. Yet it's very popular to make that suggestion, because in order to prescribe the end hormones that derive from cholesterol, pregnenolone, DHEA, you have to have a special medical license. You have to be a medical doctor or an osteopathic physician or a nurse practitioner. And there's depending on the state, there's others who have prescriptive authority. So without that prescriptive authority, people have tried various things. Well, why not take pregnenolone? No one I know has ever suggested take cholesterol.
No, Exactly. No,
to
to the
produce
contrary.
hormones. But a lot of people have suggested, who don't have prescriptive authority, licenses to prescribe hormones, well, why not take what is readily available in pregnenolone, or take DHEA, because there's no control and you don't know where it's going to go. And it has a lot of different pathways, as would be revealed if you look up the biochemical pathways of the production of steroid hormones. You can Google that and you'll see it.
Yeah, it's a whole cascade.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, so what I learned over time is, treat a woman and replenish her hormones. Treat her with estradiol, estradiol, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone. Get down to because that you have a lot of control over, and that can be monitored beautifully through 24-hour urine hormone testing. Now, I've heard people suggest that you take pregnenolone. An interesting thing was done in World War II. They gave pregnenolone supplementation to airplane pilots and to factory workers. And they did a study on it, and there was increased cognitive abilities, increased alertness. Pregnenolone on its own has some benefit to the brain.
Interesting.
And in fact, when there's cognitive issues that aren't resolved by ovarian hormone treatment, I will prescribe pregnenolone, but I'll do it for the direct effect it has and benefit it has in the brain. Not to try and produce progesterone, not to try and produce estradiol or DHEA, etc. So there is special benefit.
That's an interesting story. World War II. And men.
Yeah, and women. Factory workers.
Yeah, I guess. There were pilots. That's interesting.
Rosie the Riveter and airplane pilots.
Well, I suppose you'd want them pretty
sharp.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if there's going to be a pilot, I'm going to have a handful of pregnenolone just in case they need it in my handbag. Okay, well, thank you for that answer. I'm now going to get to the question that you wanted me to ask. This one's a long one, and it has a lot of questions in it, but it's a good one. So, and I apologize, I'm forgetting the name of who this came from. Anyway, here we go. I am puzzled by how my body could have changed so much in 9 months. I was completely receptive to sexual intercourse with my ever so ambitious 12-year younger lover, and now completely not. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'm doing a little bit of research, and I'm wondering if my immaculate attention to healthy diet in the intervening months might have reduced the estrogen in my body, meaning the estrogen that it needs. Mushrooms, cruciferous vegetables, exercise, low carbs, no alcohol, limited animal products, high fiber, all sounds really healthy, but were wrong for me. Dr. R, is it possible that Dr. Google is right, and these are ways to reduce estrogen in the body, and that my daily rotation of cruciferous vegetables and frequent mushrooms might have done me in? On the other hand, I've heard it said that with estrogen, you want to use it or lose it. So you need to have a good estrogen coming in and being taken out of the body. So are all these foods high in fiber actually a good thing? And what do you advise, Henry? Mushrooms, cruciferous vegetables in Meno. Warmly.
This came from Krishna, and she's 57, and she's definitely in menopause.
Got it.
And I want to cut right to the chase. Women in menopause lose their estrogen. If that period is stopped, it's way low. And even prior to a woman ceasing menstruation, the likelihood of her estrogen being quite low is there. I mean, again, as I've mentioned before, a woman at the age of 20 has the highest levels of estrogen and other hormones that she'll ever have, plus or minus a couple years. And that starts to decline after the age of 20. and it gets feelable and starts producing symptoms in a sufficient number of women in your 30s. And, you can have in your 40s. And if you're starting to get vaginal dryness and pain on intercourse, or your skin is a little drier, or your brain isn't functioning, well, there's so many symptoms of estrogen deficiency that can occur before you stop having your period.
Yes,
here's the bottom line. That droppage from age 20 to when you no longer have a period, that is so significant. It ain't going to be the cruciferous vegetables. The remedy is exactly what Krishna is doing, is replenish all the ovarian hormones, get it right. And Krishna is on that path, and I know that. And once there's been that decline, especially down to where the libido has changed, the interest has changed, and there's vaginal dryness, there's a process to undergo that can take a while. Like what I've always said to women who are taking Biest, for example, applying it to their skin for the purpose of restoring adequate, sufficient, wonderful estrogen levels that are not youthful levels. They do not bring back the period. You remember, I have very strongly opinionated, and my very strong opinion is you do not need to get that period back. In fact, if you do, you're putting your breasts at risk for breast glandular cell proliferation. But you don't need to get your period back, but you do need rich estrogen levels shy of bringing that period back. And you'll need a certain amount of estrogen to get vaginal health. In fact, that vaginal health is an amazing clinical marker as to whether you're getting enough estrogen. I mean, women alleviate hot flashes, for example. They start taking Biest, they gradually increase the dose, and their hot flashes go away. Fantastic. That does not guarantee. The study that I did personally with 50 women was, if a woman says to me, wow, I feel so much better, I'm not having hot flashes anymore, 50% of those women were not on enough estrogen to restore vaginal health. And that vaginal health, that's a bottom line. You need that vaginal health to return. And if you do, you'll have enough to protect your bones and even help your bones get back some of that bone loss that you've had from low estrogen. So restoring vaginal health, and what I tell women again is if you've had decline in that vaginal health, it could be a 3, 6, 9 month or 1 year process before the vagina restores to health. And you don't, even to the point where you may not even need lubricant if you're having intercourse. Now, we can facilitate the restoration of the vaginal health by actually using a vaginal estriol in combination with the Biest that you're applying to your forearms. We can accelerate that. And Krishna, your doctor knows about this and is going to do this with you, so that you can get a more rapid restoration of vaginal health, while meanwhile we're taking your low estrogen levels and replenishing them to the right amount, the optimal amount for you. And that can be a slow process. And so we accelerate the healing of vagina. Now, another thing that matters so much is the restoration of libido. Because that's what I heard. There was a major decline in libido and sexual interest. Well, step number 1, let's replenish those hormone levels, all of them. That means estrogen. That would be a combination of estradiol and estriol. That would mean progesterone. There's some women's libido that are exquisitely a function of progesterone. They don't get the progesterone right, you don't get the libido return. Libido is a function, as far as hormones go, on all these ovarian hormones. Some women, it's primarily the testosterone, but you would never want to leave out the replenishing of estrogen. So what I really am trying to say is we want to get the estrogens right, the progesterone right, the testosterone right, the DHEA right, and the thyroid right. And this is the strongest leverage we have for the return of libido and vaginal health. Get them right. And, there's ways to assess whether it's right. For one thing, the symptoms are going to alleviate. And for another thing, when we do the 24-hour urine hormone test on you, not other tests, not spot urine tests, no, 24-hour urine hormone test, we can ultimately also assess whether you're in the optimal zone, the healthy zone, as correlates with the medical literature. This matters a great deal.
Well,
Now,
it does, because you've said, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but you've said often that women say, God, I feel fabulous. This is wonderful. And, I could just go on my way, and you test them and you're like, oh, no, 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 no. You got to come back. We need to switch a few things here, right?
Precisely. And if a woman gets symptom alleviation and feels really good, she's well on her way. She's either in the zone of wonderfulness for all the hormones, or she's a little shy of it, a little too much or a little bit too little. 25% have too much, 50% have too little. So it's just a tweaking at that point. But in our way of approaching things, it's an important tweak. The other thing I want to mention about libido is look out, folks. Let's do a deep dive and inspection of what libido is. And do we think libido is related to relationship? Is libido related to friendship in that relationship? Is it related to intimacy? Is it related to trust, communication, increasing the security of one's partner, reducing the fear of one's partner? There are a lot of moving parts to libido, and they're crucial. And you can have a person who can function beautifully biologically. However, the relational things don't quite line up. I'm not saying that you're in an inappropriate relationship form. I don't know that. This could be, you guys could be, what's been called twin flames or soulmates. The age is not the issue here. However, I've done very close examination of this in myself and of others. And if all the rest of the parts don't line up, oh my God, intimacy and libido can be the ones that change. So these kind of things, as challenging as they are to bring up, I don't know Krishna's situation. I just don't know. I've never asked her about it. But I like the question so much, because so many men and women lose their libido, but biologically they're in good shape. Now, of course, we want to replenish the hormones, and we want to do that project, and it could take some time to get that right. But sometimes they're biologically in good shape, but the libido is gone. Okay, well, let's go to the emotions, the mental, the relationship, the love, the caring, the maturity, the ability to love, all the moving parts. You think the body is complex.
Try the mind. Yeah.
Well, the emotions, the mind, the heart, the soul, because sexual intercourse is so profound. And as deep and as powerful as it is, it also relates to love.
Very much so.
True love. So I wanted to have an opportunity to bring that up, because it may not be the vegetables. And yes, the cruciferous vegetables and fiber, they can really facilitate the excretion of estrogen, but that's a healthy thing. It's part of the natural process of you produce estrogens, or in menopause, you're taking estrogens in. They go do their thing inside of the cell nucleus. Oh my God. And then they're reduced, they're biochemically transformed into these metabolites. And the metabolites are picked up and they're excreted into the bile, into the intestinal tract. And if they're not carried out through a healthy fiber load and in the digestive tract, they can recirculate back into the body, and it gets messy there. So really, you want to be healthy. But to think that you could eat too many cruciferous vegetables which do participate in the proper metabolizing of estrogens. Yes, they do. But I just can't imagine. I don't think the elephant in the room is many vegetables for anybody out there. I salute you for caring that much about your diet. You can always do the experiment. You can also eat junk food for a week and see your libido increases. That'd be the
Right.
first time. That'd be the first time I've ever prescribed that.
That would be pretty
Or
funny.
don't eat so many vegetables. Do a protein-rich diet. See what happens. You can always find out if your libido skyrockets when you eliminate the amount of vegetables you're eating. Well, then for your body, you probably need more animal protein or more protein. But I just don't think it's that. I think, like, if we were to test you, we're going to test you pretty soon here. If we were to test you, we're not going to see the vegetables. We're going to see the chronically low estrogens that are getting restored until we get you into the green zone.
Well, that gets into, for me, another question that's related, but it's not a question that's been asked, and that has to do with DIM, which does that not have to do with the lowering of estrogen and cruciferous vegetables, and there's a correlation there?
Well, it's an excellent question, and you're referring to one of the biochemical components of cruciferous vegetables that happens to be super rich, indole 3-carbinol and DIM, diindole I keep forgetting what that name is. And they can facilitate, and they've been known to, they have the reputation of facilitating proper liver metabolism of estrogen. And however, I mean, I first heard about that 25 years ago and started prescribing it. And I started especially suggesting it. You don't have to prescribe it. It's something you can purchase from any multiple supplement companies. I started suggesting it when what it's purported to do biochemically is facilitate the ratio of a couple of the estrogen metabolites and to more correct it towards the way nature does it. And I've given it to so many women, and because I do 24-hour urine hormone testing, I can actually see whether DIM is correcting what is known as the 2:16 ratio. Download our book. We describe this in the book. And I have questions of, does it live up to its reputation? And over the years, I've questioned it big time. And I feel like sometimes a woman who's not properly metabolizing her estrogens according to Hoyle, I'll give DIM and it doesn't correct it.
Oh.
And in other cases, it does. So I'm not as impressed with this, what's purported to be it's going to correct. And what I think is more the case, if a woman is not properly metabolizing her estrogens, that there's a deeper metabolizing issue, and the metabolization takes place in the liver. And you know what? All earth dwellers, any creatures that dwell on this planet, have had plenty of challenge to our livers.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that we've asked our livers to handle that, 300 years ago, our livers weren't involved with so much exposure to toxins and have so much work to do. And for example, those of you who drink coffee and you're 60 or 50, is there a difference between drinking coffee when you were 20 and drinking coffee when you're 50? For example, when you were 20, could you drink coffee with dinner?
Yeah.
And when you're 50, can you drink coffee with dinner? I can't. Because when I was 20, my liver would dismantle that caffeine within an hour, and it would never disturb my sleep. When I'm in my 70s, which I am, I don't drink a cup of coffee with dinner anymore because it would take too long to dismantle the caffeine, and I'd have trouble sleeping.
Right. And then you'd have another cup at 4 a.m. to get yourself up from not sleeping.
And so it's pretty uncommon, because I've asked that question of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patients. And the answer is pretty common. The question is, would you drink a cup of coffee at 6 o'clock with dinner, or at 8 o'clock at night? And I would make a wild guess that 90% of folks will not do that, because they figured it out. It's going to interfere with their sleep. We're talking about major liver issue right there. Caffeine is dismantled by the liver, and you need a healthy liver to dismantle it. And there's a whole other group of people that they don't like perfume. They don't like cigarette smoke. And it isn't just that they just don't like it. They can't tolerate it.
No, they're
not going to walk into a mall and spend an hour in a mall with all the air in a mall is loaded with all kinds of chemicals from clothing stores, etc. And if you don't want to walk in a mall, this is a much bigger deal than DIM is going to correct. It's not going to correct that. It's not going to correct a liver challenge. And as Carolyn, you are studying right now, one of the things that you're going to be doing in your health coaching is you're going to handle the issues that get people ill.
Correct. I already am.
You're going to handle the issues for those who want to improve their health. And they're going to need to improve their nutrition, and they're going to need to improve their exercise, and they're going to need to improve the skills and how they're related to the stresses of life. And that some of them are going to have to detoxify. Some of them have acquired so much chemicals and so much mold chemicals and stuff that accumulate in the fat tissue of the body that they're going to have to go on a small, medium, or large detoxification process, in which they start doing procedures to eliminate what's accumulated in our bodies. In fact, I have an old friend of mine, Elson Haas, who wrote a book called Getting Healthy with the Seasons, and he would recommend a spring cleaning for everybody, people in their 20s and 30s, that you do a liver detox once a year. And
it's not for the faint of heart, though, I must say.
Correct.
It isn't.
And yet, why am I saying all this? Because I think we'd like to do better living through biochemistry a little bit too much. And we don't want to take pharmaceutical medications, but let's replenish them with drugs. I'm sorry, let's replenish them with supplements.
Yes.
Let's have that be the new 21st century, 20th century way, rather than medicines. And no, it's not enough. We still got to follow the basics, and a liver detox and a liver cleanse and a general body detoxification is going to be much more called for than just applying a little DIM. So it's an individual thing, and I don't want to go ballistic here, as I so often do. I apologize to those of you who hear too many words come out of my mind and my mouth.
Yeah.
But the detail there matters. Yes, DIM can have some benefit, but by the time you're not processing your hormones properly and you're not excreting them, you got to get into the liver. And if you're going to get into the liver and the health and the healing and recuperation of the liver, oh my, you got to get into the gut, because the liver is downstream from the gut. So the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. These are all doable. These are all things that you can learn to do with the benefit, with the support of a health coach or a naturopathic physician or chiropractors who've gotten used to it, or who've gotten into this, or holistic doctors. There's a lot of folks out there who've acquired a lot of knowledge and can support you, and you can even learn how to do it.
I got to tell you, it's heady. The class that I've been in for the last month is called Disease Begins in the Gut. And my teacher says, if there's anything that you're going to learn at all, learn this. And the gut, the liver, the gallbladder, everything. So I do agree with you that we've kind of gone from medicines, antibiotics, whatever, to supplements, and feeling like supplements might be healthier. But I don't know. It's maybe a different interview.
Well, they matter. And I take supplements for decades and decades and decades. But you want to get down to basics. And if you're having problems processing and excreting estrogens, which can happen. You may have to go a little deeper than DIM. In fact, you probably do.
Right.
And yet at the same time, taking on that question that, oh my God, it began a long time ago from Christian's excellent question.
Yes, it did.
It ain't a matter of broccoli, it'd be my guess.
Or a mushroom.
Or a mushroom. You're probably benefiting enormously by this care that you put into nutrition.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
But you may, but I'd say you're on the right track, though. You're a Menopause Method member. You're getting state of the art. So we'll get to it. You'll get to it. And then, oh my God, the elephant in the room, intimacy. Ay. All the moving parts in that.
Yeah.
There certainly is many moving parts in that than as there is in the physiology and biology and biochemistry of the human body. I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. You're done. My turn. It's a big bummer, all the way around when all of that goes away, but it is restorable. And I have to.
And your leverage is through love.
Correct.
Because if you can put together all the moving parts that relate to love, hey, you can make out and go to the moon with ecstasy. You don't even have to take your clothes off.
We don't. Who needs to take your clothes off, for God's sake? Okay, so I want to welcome Lean. Hi, Lean and Joanne, and hi, Elizabeth. We have some questions here. There is one that I want to ask, though, prior to getting to these. And Elizabeth says, that she loves you, Dr. Arthur. You've got lots of love coming in. We all love you, as you well know. And I know you get bashful, so I won't tell you too much.
Well, I want you to know that I feel the love, and it makes a difference, and I love.
Yeah.
And why are you and I doing this? Because we have a special experience together. So I do appreciate it. I'm touched by it. I can feel the tears coming up in my eyes. So it makes a difference when you all say it out there. And believe me,
it does.
I feel the love, and I love. Oh my God, we're so blessed. We get to love each other. We get to experience love together. My God, human beings. It's really wonderful.
It's a whole lot better than the alternative. I mean, who doesn't like warmth, right? You don't want to walk into an icky, sterile, cold room with a bunch of just bad vibes. You want hugs. Nice.
Is blech one of those words you're learning in your medical studies?
No, I'm teaching it.
You're teaching blech.
Yes. I'm teaching Yiddish. Or they're learning it by route. I don't know. Okie dokie. So I have one question that says hormones are not for every woman. And we've discussed this, and we've discussed that no woman should be made to take hormones, which I think you and I both agree.
Can I interrupt you?
No. Yeah, you can. Of course you can. Please.
I would like to challenge that statement.
Okay.
How to say it? Hormones are not for women who don't feel right about it.
Okay.
However, every single woman on the planet Earth and every single man, and there's hardly a difference there.
Right.
Gets hormonal decline.
Yes.
And this is not a picnic. And we're also living twice as long or 3 times as long as we did. And we also have many challenges to our hormones that deplete them. So what's natural? And I was talking to someone this morning, and I'd say, you think not to take hormones? Well, what I would recommend that everyone do is do what I do, what I've done, is go to an assisted living facility.
Ooh.
And go to a nursing home and enter conversations with the women and the men there. And I don't know what percentage of them are there primarily because they lost their hormones. And ask them how they feel about it. Now, they're not going to know the technical issues.
Correct.
But so many of them are there. They had to leave their homes. They had to leave their family because they lost their muscles. They couldn't stand and walk with stability. They made it from cane to walker, and then that crucial moment to the wheelchair. And they lost their bladder control because the muscle that holds up the bladder, it got lost. It lost too many fibers, and the vaginal atrophy got too much irritation. And that's one of the main things. And they lost some of their cognition, their ability to think clearly. And those are the main reasons why women and men go into assisted living facilities. And so you can say all you want, I'm just going to age naturally and it's just going to be just fine. And I'm not going to agree with you because for one thing, I'm a physician that knows people of all ages. And I know what happens to 9 years old. I was trained. And this is what happens to 90-year-olds, 80-year-olds. And then more crucial than that, I got so up close and personal with my own mother and my own mother-in-law. And I got to spend a lot of time in assisted living facilities and nursing homes, take care of being there with my mom. That I can say you really don't want to make a cavalier statement of I don't need these hormones or hormones are not for all women. I just wouldn't say that. And one of the reasons that that's a prevalent statement is the poison, the crazy thing that happened in the world of women. Crazy. Women were getting hormones replenished as much as 1,000 years ago. The Chinese were collecting the urine of young women and feeding it to the female aristocrats primarily. They were the ones who got to get it. They dried it out and there's a powder. And they would take the powder and the men would do it from the dried urine of the young males.
Pretty amazing, actually.
The hormones show up in the urine. That's why we test the urine. And then in the 40s, the pharmaceutical manufacturers, knowing that it could be of great benefit to treat women with hormones, chose a large animal, the horse, because they produce a lot of urine and they have a lot of hormones. Pregnant mare, they chose pregnant mares where the hormones are so high, and they extracted the urine by catheter.
Yeah, well, that's another one I'm teaching.
And they basically dry out and extract the hormones from pregnant mare's urine, Premarin, pregnant mare urine.
Yeah.
And 18 million American women, 40% of all women in menopause in 2002 were on these hormones and getting tremendous benefit from them. And then what happened? I've never seen another branch of medicine receive such a body blow as treating women in menopause did. Because this false study, the study was falsely reported, Women's Health Initiative. It exploded in the press that there was increased risk. And even in that study, in that originally published study, it said there's no statistical increase, no statistically significant increase. But that's not how the press interpreted. And it just scared women and physicians and prescribers. And to this day, 95% wild guess of women and medical professionals, gynecologists, believe that if you take hormones, you're at increased risk. And you were the one who introduced me to your childhood family, your dad's friend, Avram Blooming, who wrote this book, that white one over there, called Estrogen Matters.
Yeah, this one.
Which is the science behind women who are treated with hormones are at less risk for breast cancer, heart attack, and stroke than women who are not treated with hormones. That's the medical facts. We're all at risk for cancer. We're all at risk for 1,000 diagnoses. I'm at risk. As a male, I'm at increased risk for prostate cancer. Women are at increased risk for breast cancer. There's reasons for that. We want to address those reasons. They even go back to toxicity.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
God knows how I wandered off into this wild thing, because it started with, well, hormones aren't good for every woman. Well, I said, well, let's pause for a moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, that's basically it. And I mean, I do read this quite a bit. My own best friend of 53 years argues with me to the death about hormones. And I just will not argue with her anymore. I'm like,
yeah.
God.
So it was incorrect. It was incorrect information. It's not like we're not at risk for cancer. There's reasons why the prostate and the breast cancers are so prevalent. But the bottom line is, the science is, women who are treated with hormones are at less risk for breast cancer, heart attack, and stroke than women who do not receive hormonal treatment.
Right. And that's the thing. That's the thing right there. I can remember, and, Elizabeth is saying my mother, God rest her blessed soul. And I could say the same thing about my own mother, who passed away at 58. And I have a really sneaking suspicion that this has a lot to do with the fact that she was not on hormones. And that's just my own feeling. So with this woman who's asking this question, Mary, she's, saying hormones are not for every woman. You've kind of answered the question in a way. She goes on to say, is there an alternative that we can use that will protect heart, brain, bone, vagina?
Well, this is like, what a question. And
yeah, I know.
Two ways to, there's two things I want to say about this. And a question just came in from Jennifer. Thank God I'm able to do menopause with supplements. In the menopause method, during the first consultation, we spend time focusing in to assess whether as a woman is afraid to take hormones.
Yes. And there's a reason.
And our objective in that first consultation is not for a woman to walk out of there with hormones, although 99% do.
Mm-hmm.
Our objective is to honor what a woman feels as an individual. So
yes.
I never want to leave out that we must understand and respect what each individual woman's consciousness, heart, soul, mind tells them about whether it's right or not. Now, and we won't move forward until a woman is really clear on this one.
Mm-hmm. It's important.
Now, I also don't want to rescind anything I said, and I also want to deal with this. 75% of the women who go into menopause have small, medium, large, or humongous life-stopping symptoms. And you try and tell them that, well, you shouldn't take hormones, which will alleviate that. No, especially the ones who have had the benefit of those hormones. You try and tell a woman like that, like you, Carolyn Shapiro, well, I don't think you should do those hormones.
There is no way that I would buy that now. No way.
And I'm not going to mess with you to try and talk you out of them.
No, you well talked me into it without even meeting me.
That's right. And these women, they know what's right for them in their body.
Yeah, we do.
25% of the women who go into menopause have no symptoms. And they're looking around and going, what's this big Chazarai hullabaloo taking place around menopause? I went through menopause and it was totally easy. I'm done with menopause. I'm through menopause. This is not accurate. And it's you women that I have my most significant concern about.
Right.
Because you never get the motivation, you never get the fire in the belly to understand this topic and go out there and do what you need to do to master it. And ultimately connect with a prescriber that really knows what they're doing and get on hormones and stay on for your whole life. These women don't get inspired, and they're looking around like you're nuts and nobody needs, I can do this with supplements. I'm not trying to insult you, but I am trying to flush out into the open that all women, whether they get symptoms or not, go through hormonal decline. So I'm thinking of a friend of mine, someone I care about greatly, and I've given an example of this as she was going into menopause. She's 67 now. As she was going into menopause, there was the time that the Women's Health Initiative came out. And this woman has been devoted to her health for most of her life. She's an athlete. She exercises like everyone should exercise. She should guide us. She cares greatly about her nutrition. And when she heard the false information that she could be at risk if she goes into hormones, she said, well, I'm not going to do it. And she didn't have many symptoms of menopause, so it was pretty easy for her. And 18 years later, she's had many of the changes that occur from the decline in hormones, including the ones that are the least favorable that I was describing around muscle loss. So I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable. I am trying to inspire women who have, quote, easy menopause, or they're, quote, through menopause. There's no end of menopause. Those hormones continue to decline from when you've lost your period all the way down to where they go to zero. This is not okay. And so I just want to say that it's the women who have no symptoms of all that I have the greatest concern with. And I'm going to give you my best shot. Read our book. Do it. Take the hormones. Unless in your heart and your soul that you just don't feel right about them, far be it from me to try and override someone's will. But get fully informed before you make a decision. And if you are in menopause and you are symptom-free and you're doing it with supplements, or you're just symptom-free in general, my best recommendation is go to an assisted living facility and hang out.
You've often said, that it is really going to matter to you when you're in your 70s and your 80s and your 90s, what you did.
70, 80, and 90-year-old folks, their life means as much to them as our lives do to you and I right here in this moment.
So well put. Yeah.
It's not different for them unless their cognition has really gone,
right,
disappeared.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are in those assisted living facilities. I was talking to one of my doctor friends, Dr. Bergson.
Love Dr.
Bless her heart.
Yes.
What a contribution she's made. And we were trying to estimate what percentage of women would never be in assisted living facilities or nursing home. What would be the impact monetarily on Medicare if women were on hormones? It's astronomical. So, it's a challenging subject to go into because it goes against fear.
Yes.
And the fear that got triggered by the Women's Health Initiative. But I'm glad we got to go there because and what does it come down to? Take this project on until you know the correct answer for you and it's informed, and go so far as if you're going to make a decision to not do hormones, go visit 3 assisted living facilities. After you've learned enough about what hormones do and don't do, and look around, and you're going to see sarcopenia, canes, walkers, wheelchairs, and depends that could be avoided in almost every woman if she had gotten on the hormone program somewhere along the line.
It makes me kind of want to tear up too, because I know what I went through for 17 years being told no. I knew that wasn't right. And so that sort of started my own quest to really help women understand this. And we talk about the divine, no mistakes. And I've been very fortunate, thanks to you in large part, and all the women that I deal with having a great passion to really learn about this. And I think that your suggestion is well taken. You've talked about being in Florida and being on the beach and seeing not too many elderly people walking on the beach because they can't walk because their legs are very, very frail and skinny. You know, the rest of them might be kind of big, but their legs aren't, you know, kind of like a chicken. And that's because of sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle. And you bring that wonderful story up of your professor, and you were done with lectures, but he said to you, you want to know what's happening with the elderly? They're losing their muscle. Now, he didn't tell you how to fix it, you know, but you learned how to fix it. And I think it's really important that we all do take a minute and think about that, because our lives do matter to us in each day. Doesn't matter if we're 50, 90, 70. And if hormones help that, of course, the big fear is breast cancer. Avram Blooming and Carol Tavris write it straight up that the woman got an ultrasound call back and wanted to remove her entire upper torso. That's how scary breast cancer is to women.
And we want to reiterate over and over again until it really sinks in that we're all at risk for cancer. Men are at risk for prostate cancer. Women are at risk for breast cancer. There's reasons for that. And women who are treated with hormones, even horse urine-derived estrogens, along with a funky molecule called progestins, those women who are treated are at less risk for breast cancer, heart attack, and stroke.
Right.
Than women who go untreated.
Yeah.
So maybe we should move on, because I feel like we just rang that topic out until
we did. But you know what? It's gonna keep coming up and keep coming up and keep coming up and keep coming up. And it's like the perpetual circle, you know, women entering menopause, and you know, it just keeps coming up and keeps coming up. And this is like menopause, you know, AP menopause right now. But for the newer woman, you know, on the new menopause group saying, oh my God, what is going on here? You know, well, I'm never going to take hormones. And then you see her a year later and she's like, I'm on hormones. I feel fabulous. I'll never go off them. Certainly, you know, I'm on the same page as you are. And Elizabeth is saying, you know, that synthetic hormones are not for everyone. I know, but she is pretty much saying, you know, what you are, that Premarin and Prempro and that funky molecule, progestin, did help many women, and then it was taken away. And I can remember seeing Premarin in my mother's medicine cabinet. And I was like, what's this? I don't know. I probably tried it. I thought that was kind of fun. Didn't do anything. And then it was just gone. And guess what? Then she was gone, which wasn't real fun. So, you know, that's pretty much the questions that I wrote down for today. I don't have a lot of other ones other than what just came up. Hi, Twinkle. And it says, Dr. Rosensweet, well, I don't have a full question. How would you treat a woman that had, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but I can ask you, how would you treat a woman that had a hysterectomy? Same way?
The same way. Yeah, you know, when women come to me in menopause, before I know the details of their medical history, which would define, did they go into menopause because of a total hysterectomy where their ovaries were removed? Or did they go into menopause just because they naturally slipped into menopause? I can't tell the difference. And if we catch a woman early enough after a hysterectomy or early enough in menopause, I find there is hardly any difference between the treatment approach. So it's identical. It should be. I mean, it makes sense. The ovaries produce very specific hormones, and when you take out the ovaries, or the ovaries stop functioning naturally so that there won't be any more children, it's the same thing. So you wind up with, I mean, surgical menopause can be a little more intense, but not really. You can't tell a difference. I can't tell a difference if I haven't looked on our questionnaire to see, did she go into menopause, quote, naturally, or did she have her ovaries removed? It's the same thing. And the approach is identical. And the women respond almost identical.
Well, we're very lucky that the plant world, as you and I have talked about, is very happy to share with us. And that's a blessing. You know, it really is.
Well said. I mean, these hormones are coming from plants. We're very similar to a plant.
Yes, we are.
Let me just take a look. How much different do I look between me and a daffodil? Well, anyway, I look different, but there is the same internal biochemistry, very similar. There's hormones in them that are plants, or there's precursors that can be turned into hormones.
Yes.
And that's how we get them. We get them from, I mean, where the hormone precursors are most prevalent in a readily attainable plant is soy and yams. So wring them out, and you'll get a precursor to a hormone that you can convert in. So blah blah.
Well, blah blah. This has been a great interview. I mean, it's been filled with amazing information, I think, for sure.
Absolutely. And it's time for us to complete, because I have my next function arriving, and we'll see you on, oh my goodness, it's Thursday already. So we'll see you on Tuesday.
It is. You know, all the women here, thank you. All the women on the group, thank you. Dr. Rosensweet, always thank you. Always a pleasure. Always fun. Good to have fun talking about menopause that at one time was really not very fun. Let us all feel well, and let us all have fun and live good, long, happy, healthy lives. You know? And Sally Ann, you're welcome. All right. So I guess
thank you, Carolyn. Thanks once again, and I'll see you on Tuesday.
Indeed you will. For everybody, we'll all talk, but have a really great, healthy, happy weekend. Asta.
All right. Let's see here.
Can you do it?
I can. Bye-bye, Carolyn. See you on